Comedy is probably the genre, the most subgenres and hybrid genres, and therefore there's probably the most different kinds of themes and narratives, as themes and narratives change with each subgenre or hybrid genre. For example, a buddy comedy, which will most probably deal with the themes of friendship, um, have has a very different theme to a military comedy, which would probably deal with the themes of death. Teen comedies like Ferris Bueller's Day Off were a kind of protest film, similar to the anti-establishment attitude of the 60s and 70s expressionist films such as Easy Rider. These teen comedies like Ferris Bueller deal with the themes of youth and freedom and going against stereotyping. These films are often about a group of young people aged 13 to 18 who defy authority, such as their parents or teachers, and break the rules of a restrictive regime so they could have fun. And they would come up against obstacles that would often stem from the authority figure, such as in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which would be the principal who tries to catch Ferris Bueller bunking school so he can tell Ferris's parents. Sometimes there's an internal conflict, such as that which occurred in among the lifestyle differences among the group of people in the Breakfast Club. They would beat the authority figure in a narrative by outsmarting him, like Ferris does by not getting caught by the principal. Or the characters along the way would resolve their conflict, and the characters would learn life lessons from these obstacles, which would often result in the characters gaining self-esteem or right to freedom, like you see in the Breakfast Club, as all the kids dance together at the end of the film on the book cabinet and learn to overcome their social hierarchical differences. Or in Ferris Bueller, Cameron learns to chill out and relax and not take life so seriously. The authority figure would either lose his position or somehow see the young people's points of view. Um, these films, I feel, convey a bad message to an impressionable audience who are most likely going to be teenagers who see themselves in the characters and relate to the characters' issues. For example, in The Breakfast Club, these characters are all smoking drugs, vandalising school property in a way that was portrayed as cool and hip. There are also other structures of narrative. There is there's a classical Hollywood narrative which Tevez Tevet Todorov described as equilibrium disruption equilibrium, a new equilibrium. A lot of comedy films have this structure. Ferris Bueller's Day Off has this structure. Um, in the beginning of the film, a status quo is established, and that is the equilibrium, which Ferris begins being bored with school life, while his friend Cameron is depressed and feels unloved by his father. And then the goal of the main characters would be established, and that would be the goal the characters work towards. In this case, um, it's for them to have a fun day off, before all three of them, Cameron, Ferris, and his girlfriend, go off to different colleges. Then the quest, of course, in the classical Hollywood narrative, then the quest would begin. And in this case, Ferris convinces Cameron and his girlfriend to come with him and bunk school for the day, and they set out on their day of fun by taking Cameron's father's Ferrari to drive downtown. There's also a stage called the delay, which follows, which delays the resolution because the characters have to overcome those certain obstacles. In this case, the principal in pursuit of them, and also the fact they have to avoid being spotted by Ferris's father, who's going about his normal day of work around the place where they're having fun. This delay, which brings up the obstacles, is a disturbance to the equilibrium that Todorov mentioned. Then at the end, there is some kind of resolution, which then goes on to establish a new equilibrium. For example, the principal comes to Ferris's home only to find his sister, Jenny, has arrived to save Ferris. The principal then goes home, dishevelled and beaten up. Cameron's dad's Ferrari gets driven through a window in Cameron's dad's garage, and Cameron accepts the blame and learns a lesson he needs to stand up to his dad, and um, also learns along the way, you know, he needs to relax and not take life too seriously. This sets up a new equilibrium where Cameron will stand up to his family and relax, and Jenny will not envy her brother so much after she's told by Charlie Sheen's character not to worry about her brother so much and focus on herself a bit more. This film could be seen to have a multi-strand narrative, because there are many different storylines going on, such as Cameron's issues with his father, Janine's issues with Ferris. However, it's only told from Ferris's point of view, as he often directly speaks to the audience, um, and he is clearly established as the main character. And yeah, it's only told from his point of view, so it is, in fact, a single strand narrative. This film uses a closed narrative because you clearly know how this film ends. There's clearly a distinct ending, a clearly distinct resolution. Whereas an open narrative would be where the storylines aren't resolved, such as in films like Holy Grail, which ended with a resolution, which ended when there was policemen came to arrest Arthur and all the knights, and you didn't know what happened to Arthur, and that didn't clear up the narrative. That didn't end the narrative, and so it left it an open-ended narrative. But this film is very much a typical classical Hollywood narrative, a closed narrative, and it's a single strand film, single strand narrative.